Hey everybody, today I'm talking about my top 10 favourite board game designers. Now, with so many games coming out year on year, I think the prestige of a designer has become more and more important to me because it helps me fight through the chaff, it helps me work out which games I really want to play, and sometimes a designer's reputation really does live up to the hype and make you want to play these games more than any other criteria, at least for me personally. So the criteria I've used to make this list, and there were a lot of different methods I could have taken, such as going on a gut reaction or going on maybe how prolific they are in my top 100, for example. But the method I've chosen is to take the top 3 rated games of theirs that I personally rated and to work out the mean average. Now, all of those games had to at least have achieved my shield of quality. And if there was ever a tie after that mean average was worked out, then I would go to the 4th game and work out the average from there. So let's get started at number 10. At number 10, I have Dr. Rainer Knizia. Now, Knizia is easily the most prolific board game designer in history, making hundreds of games. And his average score is a 7.83. And the games I've based that off are High Society, Battle Line, Ra, and Modern Art, because Ra and Modern Art I've graded the same. And this designer is very much known for his ability to strip out any excess bloat in games, really does cut games to the core, making games very easy to learn but extremely deep in terms of player interaction and strategy. He's been around for a long time, probably designing more than 30 years now, and he still continues to make good games. I think in terms of the scope in making fantastic games and making games that are pretty average, because I think once you churned out hundreds of games, not everyone is going to be a massive hit. So I think he's really benefited off my rating system here, of only taking your highest rated games. But still, I think he's a fantastic designer, one who really does have his own design philosophy, and whatever he brings out will at least draw my attention in and want to check things out. Mainly known for his auction style games or his kind of map coverage games where you're placing tokens down, doing lots of different things. But he's also got his flavour of more heavily involved Euro games such as Tigris and Euphrates and Yellow and Yangtze, which I'm just starting to dip my toe into, so I've not factored those ratings into this grading. So I think once I've played more of his catalogue, it could potentially go up on this list. But as for now, Knizia stands strongly at number 10. At number 9, I have Rudiger Dawn. Now, Rudiger Dawn's average score here is an 8. He is probably, as I said with Knizia, of making great games and average games, Dawn probably has the biggest kind of spectrum in terms of different types of games that he makes. So, averaging an 8 here, the games that I factored in are Las Vegas Royale, Istanbul, and Karuba. But I've also liked his other titles, such as Mikado, such as Runestones. So I think these games are so different, and I think it's wonderful when a designer has such a wide array of kind of things that he can do, and Rudiger Dawn is just the perfect example of that. Again, makes very accessible game, but ones that are pretty deep. Istanbul is a simple rule set, but ones where you do have to think about your moves quite carefully as you're moving around this map of Istanbul, trying to collect different resources and cash them in as a bit of a race aspect. You've got more family-friendly games such as Karuba. This designer has really put himself on the map for me, and whatever he brings out now, I will certainly check out, because he's never had a single bad game in my opinion, and even some of his older titles I still really rate. So Rudiger Dawn at number 9, fantastic designer. At number 8, I have Matthias Kramer, averaging out at 8.16. The games I factored in here are Rococo, Lancaster, and Glenmore 2 Chronicles. So 3 amazing games here of very different types. You've got a worker placement game, you've got an area control game, and you've even got a tile placement and puzzly style game there. So again, a broad scope of designs, and they are all absolutely fantastic. And he's even got a bigger catalogue as well, games such as Watergate, which I haven't played yet, which are again critical darlings. So I think once a designer starts bringing out games with this scope, and they're all averaging at least an 8. That is a huge pedigree and a big thing to live up to. Particularly because I think me personally as a reviewer, I am quite critical, and I do really or am quite reluctant to give things out, or at least those 8+ ratings out, and these ones are well and truly deserve those ratings because they are fantastic games, really quite simple mechanically, but with different elements of strategy you can build in there, and again, a lot of depth in these games. So always looking forward to what Kramer is going to bring out next, and that is why he is a strong number 8. At number 7, I have a very popular designer at the moment. This is Alexander Pfister, averaging out at 8.5, so extremely high rated for me. The games I've put in here are Maracaibo, Mombasa, and the Isle of Skye, but of course he's also known for games such as Cloud Age, games such as the Great Western Trail, which again I at least have given my shield of quality to. So Pfister makes some more involved games, probably a bit more fiddly style games, which are more, I don't mean this derogatory, but more kind of gamery style games where they're not so intuitive, a bit more rules for the sake of rules and for complexity's sake. But I think they also, those kind of extra elements of fiddliness and extra rules and stuff do tend to benefit the game for what they do. So the fact that Maracaibo was on this list, I know I rate that extremely highly, one of my favourite games of all time, does boost this up quite a bit. But for good reason. I mean, that's a fantastic game, very much a kitchen sink style of designer, but he's also known for his pretty unique mechanisms, which he tends to use or kind of recycle in his games, such as the card mechanism when you're playing cards into different discard piles that are used not only in Mombasa but also used in Blackout Hong Kong. He's known for the stock and shares style mechanism, which is used in Mombasa and Maracaibo. Known for his rondelles, which has shared DNA with Great Western Trail and Maracaibo. So again, they do have a similar DNA, but they all do feel kind of distinct in my opinion. But again, when you play a Pfister game, I think you can tell that this is a Pfister game. Perhaps with the exception being Isle of Skye, which is more of a lighter Carcassonne plus style game, a tile placement game. But that one works really well for me. I rate that one at an 8. Which for a lighter style game is something I rarely do. So yeah, just a fantastic designer and well and truly deserved the reputation he's built for himself. And year upon year, whatever games he brings out is almost a guaranteed buy for me. So Alexander Pfister at number 7. At number 6, I have Wolfgang Kramer, averaging out an 8.66. So Wolfgang Kramer is another designer, a bit like Rainer Knizia, who's been around for decades, made some huge titles out there, ones that have spanned time and just completely defied the test of time. Games such as El Grande, which is my favourite game of all time. Games such as Mexica, Renature, you've got Adventureland. All these fantastic games, normally in combination with Michael Kiesling. But Wolfgang Kramer, I think that his input in the games have a bigger factor for me because, again, he designed El Grande without Michael Kiesling. So that did boost up his rating quite a bit. I think this guy, again, a bit like Knizia, he doesn't tend to bloat his games too much. But they do have some extremely interesting hooks in the game that just differentiate themselves from other things. Most of them do fall into that area control game, style game, where, as I said, El Grande, Mexica, you've got Maharaja, you've got Renature. So yeah, there's quite a lot of shared DNA, especially with the Mask trilogy as well, with Mexica, Tikal, Java, and they are all absolutely, you can pretty much tell they are Wolfgang Kramer games. But still, they all are separate enough to differentiate themselves. So I don't think it's warranted having them all. But if you take the best of his best games, they are absolutely phenomenal blockbuster games to me and have all been extremely enjoyable. And, the fact this guy is still coming out with fresh ideas really does interest me because, the first game on this, on the top 3 games is from, I think, 1996, and the latest game that's on this list is from 2020. So again, a huge pedigree there, and I think this guy is a genius. So that is Wolfgang Kramer at number 6. At number 5, I have Vladimir Suki, averaging out at 8.83. Now, Vladimir Suki is actually a designer I've only recently dived into his game since playing Praga Caput Renyi last year. Since then, I've gone back to his older games, playing games such as Pulsar and Underwater Cities. And all three of those games have blown me away, all received my highest shield of my Elite Shield, which is like my highest acclaim that I can give a game, and rightly so. These games are fantastic, beautifully designed, loads of paths to or strategies you can go down, paths to victory. Again, pretty unique in their own regards. You've got an engine building style elements to them all. You've got some pretty unique elements as well, such as the action wheel in Praga. You've got the card play in Underwater Cities, where you can build captivating engines, and you've got the really cool dice placement system in Pulsar 2849. I haven't played his older designs, games such as Last Will and the Prodigals Club, because to be honest, they didn't appeal to me as much as these ones do. But I think these are his last 3 releases, and if this is a kind of a pattern to go by, then a surefire buy for me from year to year, and I just hope he can keep this level of quality up, because he is incredible at designing great Euro games. That is Vladimir Suki at number 5. At number 4, I have certainly my most prolific designer in my collection, averaging out at a 9.33. This is Stefan Feld. Now, Stefan Feld is a designer who, his games, I have almost every one of them in my collection, maybe excluding the lighter games, but still they're very good. A bad Stefan Feld game is still better than 80% of the games out there, in my opinion. So the games that I've used to give this rating are Trajan, the Oracle of Delphi, and Amerigo. And falling back on that, you've got great games such as the Castles of Burgundy, you've got Aquasphere. These are all amazing, amazing games. Stefan Feld, very much known for his very dry, very mechanical games with very little theme in them. If you want to be invested and immersed in the game, then Stefan Feld probably isn't the kind of designer that you want to be going for. But if you appreciate great game designs and interlocking mechanisms, great kind of, like point salad style games where you're just showered in points for doing lots of different things. And it really is a game, he makes games kind of about optimizing your moves and being as efficient as possible. Then Stefan Feld is the place to go to. He is really a genius in what he can do and how his mind works. I'm always amazed about how different his games are and how different approaches he goes down. Because, you've got games like Oracle of Delphi, which is a racing game that uses dice, pretty similar to the way that Castles of Burgundy works. But then you've got Trajan, which uses the Mancala system. You've got Aquasphere, which uses like a programming system. Then you've got Amerigo, which uses a dice tower, or kind of a dice cube tower, whatever they call it, like a cube tower. All very different in the way they work. But again, they have that shared DNA where you could think, what, this feels like a Feld game, and I don't quite know why. But an incredible designer. It really does blow my mind about what this guy thinks of, and the way he implements his games. And most prolific. I have a ton of his games in my collection, and I love every single one of them. So that is Stefan Feld at number 4. At number 3, I have the designer who I actually thought was going to be my number 1. So quite interesting to do the maths behind the list here. This is Daniele Tascini. So Daniele Tascini's games averaging out at a 9.33, the same as Stefan Feld, but the 4th game on the list I rated a little bit higher for Tascini. So Tascini, known for his pretty interesting, pretty innovative Euro-style games that use dice. I suppose the first game that put him on the map for me was Tzolk'in, the Mayan Calendar, an amazing worker placement game that uses this gear system where you place things down, and as time goes by, then the workers kind of power up and you get bigger benefits. But in more recent years, made games such as Tekenyu, Obelisk of the Sun, games such as Teotihuacan, and even Trismegistus, which is one of my favourite games ever, all using dice in innovative ways, using a drafting system. I absolutely think this designer is out of this world good. He he never surprises me about how he uses dice in interesting ways. Not only bearing in mind the pit value of them, but also the colour and the symbols and how many are in the pool and all these different ways, and even like using dice in a rondelle system in Teotihuacan. But on that, beneath all that, you've got charts and tracks and powers and all different things that he uses in his games, and they always are blended wonderfully for me. I never have any doubts in my mind that his games are not balanced. I think they're all perfectly balanced. I think they're all extremely fun to play. They do stretch you in lots of different ways in terms of being a brain burner, and I love all the different approaches you can tackle his games. Every year I'm extremely optimistic and looking forward to the new Tashini game, and that's not even slightly waned in as the years go by, and he is one of the best in the business. As I said, if I went on personal excitement level for his games being released, then Tashini would be number one. He's just an absolutely wonderful designer, and I think he's brilliant. So that is number 3, Daniele Tashini. At number 2, averaging out at a 9.5, so close to perfection, this was Virginio Gigli. Now, Virginio Gigli, the games on this list are, or in his top 3 here, Lorenzo Il Magnifico, which I rate a 10, Grand Austria Hotel, which I rate a 9.5, and I've also got Coimbra, which I rate at a 9. So very similar to Tashini, he makes these fresh, innovative Euro games, with a lot of engine building in them, lots of combos, really nice to look at games, and I think all these kind of Italian brand of designers are really leading the pack in terms of making new Euro games and keeping them fresh and keeping them relevant, and basically keeping them in the limelight, really. These games are absolutely brilliant. Lorenzo, my favourite engine builder game ever, definitely my favourite worker placement game ever. I got Grand Austria Hotel, which is one of my favourite dice drafting games ever, and Coimbra as well, another fantastic dice drafting game. What more can I say? These games are amazing. Top tier, elite level games. And once you've got a catalogue and your name is stuck to all those games, then what more can you say than, bring more stuff out, please. And Virginio Gigli, again, a designer who I wasn't expecting to be this high on the list, but when you look at his catalogue, then what more can I say? Virginio Gigli at number 2. And finally, at number 1, averaging out at a 9.66, so even closer to perfection, is Simone Luciani. Now, Simone Luciani is, for me, he is like the godfather of Eurogames at the moment. Whatever he sticks his name to just tends to be amazing. He really does have that Midas touch. So again, a co-designer on Lorenzo Il Magnifico, on Grand Austria Hotel, but also what separated him just above Virginio Gigli was the fact that he was the designer for Barrage as well. But he's also had his involvement in games such as Marco Polo, which is again another Elite Shield candidate for me. So, this guy, he just seems to be whatever game's good or whatever game's going to come out and just really take off. Simone Luciani's name's on it for me. And even looking forward to his design this year in terms of being Darwin's Journey. That one looks like to be a Gangfire hit or a massive hit as well. So, yeah, Luciani, his pedigree speaks for himself, his prestige speaks for himself. These games are the best of the best, and when you're averaging out over a 9.5 over several games, then wow, what an amazing accomplishment! And please bring more stuff out. If he keeps holding up this level of quality control, then this guy is going to go down as one of the greatest of all time. So at number 1, I have Simone Luciani. So that concludes my top 10 board game designers. I hope you enjoyed this list. I think it's quite interesting to go through these designers, and it will be interesting as well as maybe I play more of their games in a year or two to revisit this list and see how that league table kind of changes and how things have moved around. So I hope you got some value out of this list, and I hope you get some use in terms of maybe digging into their back catalogue and checking out some of these games. Because these guys are the best in the business. So if you have enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos too. For everyone else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye.